a lot of vocabulary. You're not even going to really work out any math problems. It's just all vocabulary and how you name angles. So last time we did segments. Today we're going to do angles. So an angle is formed by two rays. And if you remember from last time, a ray had like a point on one end and an arrow on the other. Do you remember that looked like a clock hand? Line went forever. A segment stopped on both ends. A ray kind of stopped on one end and went on the other. That common end point is called the vertex. Want to write this down with me? You need to find one. Thank you. Rays are called the sides. All of this makes sense. Again, geometry is largely common sense. It's all shapes and stuff. Yeah, and like hopefully you've done some of this before. Like remember those? So the sides of the angle, and you name an angle using 3 letters. And the order does matter. Please don't talk over me. The middle letter has to be the vertex. So when you label it, the letter in the middle, please don't talk over me, has to be the vertex. And you use a single letter if there's only one angle and you just use the vertex, okay? And then we put this little M in front if we're measuring it. So you would say the measure of angle ABC is 60 degrees. So in addition to calling this ABC, what's another way you could name this? Yeah, CBA. See how that works? You just have to put the vertex in the middle, all right? So types of angles. This one we call acute. That means it is, or does anyone know what that means? Acute? Smaller than 90. So smaller than 90. Good. This one's called obtuse, which means bigger than 90. And if it is 90, we put this little like square in there, and that is called a right angle if you have 90 degrees. I kind of like geometry. It's a lot of common sense. It is a lot of vocabulary. All right, so we're going to use this picture to name all our things. Name the vertex of the angle. All right, which letter is the vertex? K. That was super difficult, right? Name the sides of the angle. Now there's 2 sides. Yeah, KL is one of them. And then the other one, KJ. Perfect. Those are 2 rays. KL and KJ. So give 3 ways to name the angle. You can either just call it angle K. We put that symbol means angle in front of it. You can just call it angle K. You can call it angle LKJ. And then what's the third way? You could call it angle JKL. Good. It's just the K has to go in the middle is all that is. And then classify. So would you say this angle right here is acute, obtuse, or right? Yeah, obtuse. If you kind of like flip this around, you can see how it's like bigger than 90. Cool. All right, and then we're going to use this crazy picture to answer all these ones. So name the vertex of angle 2. So you have to find 2 in there, which is right where I'm pointing. So T, good, is the vertex. There's a lot to look at in this picture, so you kind of have to be careful. All right, name the sides of angle 4. So here's 4. Do you see where I'm pointing? It's this one. So TW is one of them. Good job. And it'll have to be T something. Z, good, TZ. In a way, this is kind of like not even math. Like we're not even doing a math problem. It's just vocabulary and stuff. All right, another name for angle 3. Now you can't get away with just calling it T because you have all these other rays coming off there. So you have to use 3 letters. ZTU, good. So angle ZTU or angle UTZ. Good job. Let me just end this pass real quick and we'll keep on going. All right, another name for angle 1. So 1 is right here where I'm pointing. YTX, good. Angle YTX or XTY. Again, the T just has to go in the middle. All right, name the sides of angle 5. 5 is right here where I'm pointing. It would be TW is one of them. And what would the other one be? Angle 5 is right here. So we get TW, good. And then TY. Bless you. TY. And then these are all classified. So acute, obtuse, or right. So YTW, watch me point to this. YTW is this one. You see how I found on there? YTW. So what do you, that is a right angle. It's got that little square in there. All right, YTU. Again, watch me point to this. YTU is all of this. Do you see that there? YTU. Obtuse. It's like angles 1 and 2 together. So obtuse. Let me kind of erase all the markings I put on here so I can point to the next one. All right, we've got XTU. So that's this one. That's angle 2. Good. Acute. That's a tiny little one. And then, hold on, WTU. So WTU is this one. WTU. So good. Obtuse. This is very difficult. Here we go. You're the one answering all the questions. You're like on a roll over there. All right, so turn this. We're going to do examples and more vocabulary. Vertical angles go across from each other and they are congruent, which means same measurement. So if you draw yourself a big old X, oops, I'm going to label this as angle 1 and this is angle 2. Those are vertical angles. Do you see how they just go across from each other? And doesn't that make sense that they would be the same? I need for you to write this down because that's a respect thing. That's like, I'm your teacher and I'm teaching you right now, so I need you to write it down. It's a respect. But do you see how they go across from each other? That's all that means, all right? Adjacent. Just in your life, your 14 years of life, what does the word adjacent mean? Yeah, next to each other. So if you have two angles that are next to each other, they share a common side. So it would look something like this. Do you see how those are next to each other and they share a side? That's what adjacent means. They are just next to each other. That's all that is. Most things are exactly what they sound like. All right, linear pair. That is a pair of angles that make a line, straight line. That's all that linear means line, pair means two. All right, so draw yourself a straight line and then put another ray coming off of it. These two would be a linear pair. They make a line together. Pair of angles that make a line. Okay. All right, complementary means that they add up to 90. So just draw yourself two angles and we just need to come up with two numbers that add up to be 90. Yeah, so I would probably do 30 and 60. I heard somebody say 45 back there. You can do 45 and 45. It really doesn't matter. As long as they add up to 90, they are complementary. All right, and then the last one, supplementary means they add up to 180. So one of them is going to need to be obtuse here. So let's say this is 150, and then the other one is 30. It doesn't matter. All those numbers you guys shouted out are fine as well, as long as they add up to 180. Do you know that a straight line is worth 180 as well? Okay, just checking because that's going to come up with the next thing that we're going to do. So pull out that second sheet. We're just going to do this real quick and I'll play a game. Now, there can be more than one answer to these. So it says check all the relationships between the angles. So 1 and 2. Do you see how they're across from each other? All right, so vertical, and that actually might be it. They're not next to each other. They don't add to 90. They don't add to 180, and they don't make a line. So that's actually it there. All right, 1 and 2. They are adjacent. They're next to each other. And then do you see how I have this right angle in here? That means they add up to 180. Well, just this half of it, 90. They add up to 90. Good job. So that means they are complementary. Complementary means add to 90. Supplementary means add to 180. Which one? The one we just did? Or this one? Okay, they are a linear pair. Now, since a line is 180 degrees, that means they are also supplementary. They're going to add up to 180 because a straight line is worth 180. And there's actually one more. Yeah, adjacent. They're next to each other. Perfect. All right, how about number 4? I think there's only one that, yeah, adjacent. They're next to each other. You might be like, oh, it looks like it's 90 degrees. If you don't see that little square in there, you're not allowed to assume that. So you can't assume any kind of measurements on that. So that's the only thing we can get there. Oh, do you see these tick marks? That means those are congruent. So these are the same measures. So whatever angle 1 is, this is the same. Okay. So let's see, 1 and 2, they're across from each other. So they're vertical. And let's see, they don't make a line. They do make 90 degrees. If this is 90, that means each one of these has to be 45. It got split exactly in half because they're congruent. And so if that's 45 and that's 45, they add up to be 90. So they're also complementary. They add up to be 90. That was really tricky, the complementary part. All right, and then last one, 1 and 2, they're across from each other. So vertical. Now, do you see this right angle here? That means this is also 90 and this is also 90. And then, oh, good. So if this is 90 and this is 90, they add up to 180, which means supplementary. Very good job.